So you wanted some great and fascinating facts about me, His Royal Majesty King Henry VIII? Well, you've come to the right place. I had a servant called the Groom of the Stool. Now, one of his principal functions was to assist me when I attended the closed stool, what you might call the toilet. And one of his principal jobs was to wipe the royal bottom. Now, strangely enough, this wasn't a job given to some menial servant. This was actually quite a high-ranking member of court that would be honoured to take this position. Why? Well, he would have other roles as well, and he would be in close daily contact with me, the king. And it was believed that this contact with the king would enable him to extract certain favours, shall we say. I was responsible for the upgrading of the English coastal defences, all the way from the southeast up to Wales. A lot of these defences were brand new. They were called device forts. Also, I was responsible for the upgrading of some of the existing castles and forts that were there on the south coast. So comprehensive and so well built were many of these defences that they were actually still in use defending England during the Second World War. I had a great interest in home remedies, in medicines. Some people might call me a hypochondriac. When young Prince Edward was born, I instructed that every day the walls of his nursery be scrubbed down with soap and water. I was actually obsessed with cleanliness. I would devise my own remedies for certain illnesses. But there was one thing that I lived in mortal fear of: the sweating sickness. It had already claimed the life of my older brother Arthur, and I was absent from London between 1517 and 1518 for almost a whole year, while a particularly nasty outbreak took place. While I was courting Anne Boleyn, she contracted the illness. And what did I do? Well, I fled and prayed that she would get better. I wasn't coming in any close contact with anybody with the sweating sickness. I'm famed for having 6 wives, but I was married to my first wife, Catherine of Aragon, for over 23 years. That is more than the rest of the other 5 wives put together. I was a quite accomplished author, it has to be said. My most famous work was almost 30,000 words long. It was a work that refuted the teachings of the German monk Martin Luther, a Protestant. My work was in defence of the Catholic faith. It was entitled The Defence of the Seven Sacraments. And before I fell out with the Pope, he actually awarded me the title Defender of the Faith, a title that monarchs of Great Britain still use to this day. I was a pretty suspicious type of character, and I lived in almost constant fear of being poisoned. I would have somebody test all of my food before I ate and drank a thing. That way, if it was poisoned, they'd die and not me. A good idea if you are king. Absolutely. But just to be doubly sure, I introduced a new method of execution. Anybody found guilty of poisoning would be boiled to death. As well as being a famous author, I was also a pretty handy musician. I used to love playing both the recorder and the lute. I've composed quite a few famous pieces. However, the piece of music Greensleeves, the one that is most closely associated with my name, there is absolutely no evidence whatsoever to suggest that I wrote it. The final fact is a little bit upsetting for me to reveal, but it's true, I have to be honest with you. At the famous Field of the Cloth of Gold summit with the King of France, he and me had a wrestling match. Yes, I did lose. Well, I hope you enjoyed that video. Join us next time for more great history facts with History with Henry.